2017. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Mello?
Counsel Perry.
Present.
Counsel LeBeau.
Here.
Counsel Ryan.
Present.
Counsel Hilton.
Present.
Counsel Shabbat.
Present.
Counsel Edwards.
Present.
Counsel DiMederos is absent.
Thank you. Mrs. Mello? First item on the agenda is a presentation of legislative grants for the Police Department, Fire Department, and Senior Center by Honorable Representatives Jay Edwards and Dennis Canario, and the Honorable Senator Walter S. Vilag, Jr. Gentlemen?
Thank you, Madam President. Unfortunately, Chief Blakey isn't here to receive his check, so I think we'll have to take it back with us. We actually have 3 checks this evening. We have one for the Fire Department, we have one for the Police Department, and we have one for the Senior Center. And there is a caveat for the one with the Fire Department, because I understand they're going to buy a new ATV for their work out in the woods. And that the caveat is that the chief has to let us all have a ride on it first. So, Chief, this will go a long way towards you getting that ATV. It's a check for $10,000.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
And since Chief,
I can take the chief's if he's not going to use it.
well, we could have it changed, Chief. Just one chief to the other chief. Madam President?
This one's for the senior center for $3,000.
And this one, well, we will give it to you, even though the chief isn't here to accept it. I understand this is going to be used for communications equipment for the police department, and Senator Felag, Representative Canary, and I got a check for $10,000 to that end. So you're going to have a lot of new communications equipment coming to the town of Tiverton.
Very good. Thank you.
And just to expound on that a little bit, previously we had awarded grants to the fire department, the police department, the senior centers, the Tiverton Library, and also the Tiverton Little League, each were recipients of various denominations of grants. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. They'll be put to good use for the town of Tiverton. Consent agenda, business brought before the council. CA 1A, approval of regular session meeting minutes of June 12th, 2017. 1B, approval of executive session meeting minutes of June 21st, 2017. 1C, approval of executive session meeting minutes of June 26th, 2017. 1D, approval of special meeting minutes April 26th, 2017. 1E, approval of special meeting open session minutes April 5th, 2017. 1F, approval of special meeting executive session minutes April 5th, 2017. CA2, receipt of minutes from the following boards and commissions, none. CA3, correspondence, receive and file, 3A. Cranston City Council resolution in support of H6204 relating to maintenance of town roads. CA4, approval of tax assessor abatements. CA5, town administrator, June monthly department reports. CA6, town administrator, June police and fire overtime reports. CA7, town administrator requests scheduling of public hearing for amendments to fee resolution on July 26th council meeting. Are there any items that the councilors wish to remove from the consent agenda?
Madam President, I'd like to remove CA6.
CA6, any others? Do I have a motion for the remainder of the consent agenda?
Madam President,
Mr. Edwards?
Make a motion to approve the rest of the consent agenda minus CA6.
Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor? Unanimous. Ms. Hilton?
I have a question. Chief Blakey's not here, but I have a question for the town administrator, and I understand there may not be an answer this evening, which is okay. The May through June police department overtime is 22,000, which is pretty steep, although I do understand we're now in vacation season when people are taking their vacation in the nice weather. But there is one item in here for grants totaling 6,700, and I'm just not quite sure what that overtime item is.
Neither am I, and I'll get back to you.
Thank you. That's all, Madam President, I have.
Do I have a motion for CA6?
Madam President,
Mr. Edwards?
make a motion to approve CA6.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Open public forum for announcements, comments, and questions. Barbara Pelletier?
Hi, Barbara Pelletier. Thanks to Sue Anderson, we had a lovely, lovely 4th of July celebration in Tiverton. It was very meaningful and very, very thoughtful, and I think that anyone who missed it should keep it in their minds for next year, because we learned a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. And I'd also like to thank you for the muffins and the coffee. That was excellent. B, public hearings and presentations. B1, Twin River Tiverton LLC roundabout presentation. Mr. Russo?
Thank you, Madam President, members of the council. I think if you recall, when we put together the contracts between DOT and the town, and then the town and Twin River to try to expedite the design and the construction of the roundabout in conjunction with the casino, there were members of the planning board and members of the council who had suggested that once we get to 90% design, it would probably be wise to have a public presentation. So we have Todd Brayton with us from Bryan Associates, who under contract is finishing the design that would otherwise be done by RIDOT staff. Before Todd goes in his presentation, just to bring everyone up to speed, Todd has submitted 90% design to DOT. They've done one round of comments, right, Todd? And I think there's a second round of comments that will go back hopefully sometime this week. So it's timely to put this presentation on at this point. By way of timeline, we've been able to shorten design, bidding, all of those types of things that are normally very regimented and step-by-step in a DOT that could take upwards to 18 months. We've been able to compress that, which was the hope. The solicitor's office has been coordinating on behalf of the town under the contract, and that's been very seamless. We appreciate the time. At this point, we have DEM approval that remains, just specific to the roundabout, which I would anticipate sometime this month. We're finishing our archaeological survey of the state right-of-way, which is separate from the project site. And Todd's office is working with the various utilities to coordinate the utility pole relocations and that type of thing. And we hope that we're on schedule for a start date of construction sometime in the month of August. We don't quite know when. You might know a little bit better in the next maybe 10 days, I would guess. But hopefully sometime that month. So with that, I'll let Todd do the presentation. The only other thing I wanted to add is that, and I don't think he's here tonight, but Mr. Anderson on behalf of DPW and Mr. Baker on behalf of Steer Engineering have been working with us, and they're going to get us, I think tomorrow or very soon after that, comments on a traffic protection plan, sequencing of construction. So you'll hear Todd go through that tonight as to how it'll be sequenced to minimize impact on traffic and so forth, or how we can still manage traffic. But we have yet to incorporate the comments from Mr. Anderson and Mr. Baker to that. So that will get further refined, and obviously the police department will have to review that as well. So go ahead, Todd.
Okay, can everyone see the plans? I'm sure everyone won't be able to, but hopefully they're in pretty good location there. So what we have here, the roundabout is at the intersection of William S. Canning Boulevard, which is Route 81, Stafford Road, which is Route 81 to the south. Stafford also goes off to the north, and Hearst Lane. Currently, it's a stop control condition coming from Stafford Road into Route 81, a little bit to the north of Hearst Lane. So the roundabout is actually going to be shifted a little bit to the south. It's a little-
Mr. Brayton, you'll have to
Yeah.
speak up. They're
Okay.
having difficulty
All right.
hearing you.
Can you hear me now? So on this,
If
this
the people in the back could just like come forward more so you can hear. Go ahead, proceed.
This plan shows a little closer detail of the roundabout. There are 5 approaches to the roundabout. As I said, there's William S. Canning Boulevard coming from the north, 2 approaches of Stafford Road, Hearst Lane, which is at the top of the page, and then now the new approach for the casino. The one significant change from, as Mr. Russo mentioned, from when RIDOT had the project earlier, before it could move forward, is now there's a second lane on the William S. Canning Boulevard southbound approach, which will allow traffic coming to go directly into the casino. And that might be. You might be able to see it a little better on this plan, how it's striped out for 2 separate lanes on that approach. It's kind of some of the details of the design. There's going to be sidewalks on all sides, on all the approaches to the roundabout. There's what we call a concrete truck apron in the middle, which will allow for the trucks to navigate the roundabout. Primarily, the cars will be in, it's a little hard to see in this plan, but the cars will go on the outside. But when trucks have to go through it, they actually will use that inner apron that is closer to the island in the center. One thing that we are working on, as Attorney Russo mentioned, with DOT is coming up with some different guide signs or destination signage for the roundabout, which are not reflected in this plan. We're actually working on that, so when we make the next submission to RIDOT, that'll be incorporated. It's probably going to be larger signs that will actually give the directions of where each approach goes to. So for people that are unfamiliar with the area and roundabouts in general, because there still are not that many of them in Rhode Island, hopefully we'll give a little better guidance so that people know where they're going and they'll be able to get through the roundabout when they get there. As Mr. Russo mentioned, there is utility coordination that's currently ongoing. There's going to be, I believe it's 8 utility poles that have to be relocated for the work. There's also going to be some, as part of the casino, there's water connections. There's a new sewer line that's being installed around the roundabout down Hearst Lane to Leeway. Hearst Lane and Leeway will be repaved as part of that work after the sewer's installed. We're also putting in all new drainage system, which actually is an improvement over existing conditions. We're putting in a sand filter with some storm scepter drainage structures, which actually will treat the water better than it is now. And that's part of the design. This plan shows the landscaping that's designed. The landscape architect, which is Very Waterman for the roundabout, worked with Hallie Beckman's office, who's the landscape architect for the site, to kind of coordinate what the landscaping would look like so it would be kind of in sync with each other. So the splitter islands, which are the islands on each approach, will be landscaped. The center island will have a small wall with landscaping on top. There's also going to be some landscaping provided in on the top of the page over near Hearst Lane because of the configuration of the roundabout. That actually just opens up some space up there for allowing landscaping to be put in. In terms of the construction, while it's actually being done, we're looking at 4 phases. The first phase is primarily going to be the work that's to the west of the existing intersection or the existing roadway. It'll be all off-road, so there'll be minimal impacts to traffic during this phase. It might be a little bit, maybe doing some of the work that's associated with the edges of the area, but for the most part, it'll be minimal impacts to traffic driving through the intersection. In the second phase, we're looking at doing work on the east side of the intersection. So the configurations are going to change. You're not going to have just lanes coming in and out from Stafford Road to the north instead of having the way it now goes around the islands. It'll just be kind of like one intersection. And the traffic on Route 81 will continue similar to what it is. Again, there will be probably some lane closures here and there for some of the work associated with what's going on in this phase.
Can I just ask a question while you're on that? Yep. What about Hearst Lane? Hearst Lane will
Yes, so
will
Hearst
not
Lane.
be able to take a right.
There'll probably be times, it will depend on what the contractor decides and how they actually specifically sequence it, but there may be times where it might be a one lane, so maybe might have a police detail that might direct the traffic, or potentially there's always, could be a detour for the people there to actually go around till they Hancock and come back around. Again, it probably depends on when they're actually, what work they're doing. If they're doing some curb work or sidewalk work, they might need a little more space, so then they might have to allow that. But for a lot of the other work, there won't be any impacts to Hearst Lane. It's not going to be a permanent or a consistent or constant impact to Hearst Lane during this phase. This is phase 3, so the majority of work in phase 3 is actually kind of in the middle of the intersection. The traffic coming northbound will it'll almost start operating as a roundabout, or that's the intent at least. So they start going around what will be the roundabout, and then kind of going to the west side for people going southbound. And this will, for the most part, will kind of complete the roundabout construction itself. And then in phase 4. In phase 4, it'll be kind of some cleanup work. The sand filter will be installed. The temporary basin that's on the west side of the intersection will be taken out, and that'll be revegetated. And then some of the work on the like kind of the southeast portion of the intersection will be completed over near Hearst Lane to the south. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. If anyone has any questions.
Any questions from the council?
I have
Ms.
a
Hilton?
question. Can you go back to the discussion about the trucks? So are what you're saying is that if you're coming south on William Canning Boulevard and you're a truck turning into the casino, you're not going to use the right-hand lane, you're going to use the left-hand lane to make that turn?
No, actually, that maneuver, they would actually be able to stay in their lane completely, taking that turn.
Okay, so explain to me about the trucks,
Okay.
please.
Yeah, so, all right, so there's, because it's a roundabout, there's obviously, you be able to circumnavigate. So looking, if you were coming southbound, we'll take that approach first. If you're taking a right, you would just be in that right lane going into casino.
Yeah.
If you're going in any of the other approaches or any of the other exits, you'd be in the left lane. You would stay in the main circulatory roadway to go either Stafford Road South, come around to go to Hearst Lane, further around to come to Stafford Road northbound, or if there's any reason for a truck to do a complete 360, they could also do that. So that portion in the middle that's outside of the center allows that movement. So the trucks would actually encroach on top of that truck apron, which is actually raised from the rest of the roadway.
Okay, so
do that.
that's what I maybe thought you were saying. So this, what looks like sort of on this version, a brick pattern, this is a truck apron.
Right.
And when you say it's raised, how much is it raised?
I could look at the details to get specifically the answer to that. I believe it's 3 inches.
Okay, so what stops then someone who's following a truck, right? you know, who may or may not be familiar with a roundabout, from following a truck onto the truck apron, thinking that that's another lane.
I think it would, because of that differential in the height with that 3-inch or what, I can look it up to get specifically what that is. That actually is a deterrent from most cars driving up there. It actually wouldn't be comfortable for them to do that. A truck obviously needs to do that because the size of the vehicle, they actually need to go up there to make the maneuver. But for cars, it typically is not, it wouldn't be a comfortable maneuver to try to drive up onto the truck apron.
I don't know, I grew up on the Cape, the land of not roundabouts, but rotaries. And I'm telling you that, you know, I mean, I would love someone who's I don't know, maybe Bill Anderson, our DPW director, has an opinion, but I just don't know how, because that's not a usual, this apron's not a usual design feature.
Most roundabouts do have truck aprons, actually.
They do?
Yes.
And does it have curbing?
Not all of them don't have curbing. That's kind of a relatively newer feature of, and I think it's because of, and maybe what some of the things you're saying, to kind of keep people in, or drivers in the lane they're supposed to be in. So that, again, it's more of a deterrent to do that, to keep them off the truck apron.
May I ask our DPW director if he has a thought on that? I would just worry that that people would see a truck going in and going there and perceive that to be a lane. Then believe me, I've seen people do weird things at rotaries, and that, you know, it seems kind of complicated.
Hello. This is similar to the roundabout that they just put in Warwick, and the whole, they just redid 117, Route 1, and everything else. That pattern there is there for trucks to go up onto, and when you're going into the rotary, you see it, and you don't generally want to go onto that. You just, for some reason, when I drive into it, I see it, and I don't want to drive onto that. I want to stay on that pavement and go right around the rotary. I understand what it's there for, because you need to get the trucks around it. Otherwise, I mean, otherwise they would need more land to put two-way of traffic, 2 lanes, actual physical lanes in there, and that's an alternative that DOT's been using right now.
So, I have a question.
Ms. Ryan?
Whoever answers, I don't care. What kind of trucks are you talking about? It's like every truck. You're not talking about anything specific for the casino. You're talking about any kind of trucks that's going anywhere in that small ones, short, you know?
All trucks, yeah.
Right?
So they're,
Except, well, but except the, what's the name of that other street? Atlantic? Is it Atlantic?
Hearst Lane.
No, the one that's further, where the trucks go now. Aquidneck, yeah. So that lane is still that street is still going to be for most of the casino trucks, right?
So
For construction.
Yeah. That's what I'm asking.
Yes.
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 Okay, so this is not for the construction,
No,
although
this,
they might use it.
I don't know. I don't know if you know the
I
details
don't think
of that.
so. I don't think they would use it during construction. Let's see, is Joanna back there? Joanna, is the plan is to use the Aquidneck Avenue, or Aquidneck entrance for construction, right? We're not gonna be using the roundabout entrance.
We'll be using Aquidneck, and then eventually we'll be coming in where the right-hand turn lane would be into.
Okay, once it's constructed, okay.
So to repeat the answer, it's still use Aquidneck Road
Until the rotary right-hand lane is
until the
constructed.
rotary is completed, and then use both Aquidneck and the right-hand lane.
Right.
Going entrance into the Twin Rivers.
Correct.
Okay.
So is the truck apron, when a truck goes up on the truck apron, I'm assuming that the inside wheels are on the apron, but the outside wheels aren't on the apron, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And does that leave enough room on the outside for someone who's not roundabout or rotary smart to think that they can be in a second lane outside the truck?
No, they wouldn't be enough room there. The truck's not going to be completely hugged up against the inside of the island. They're going to be kind of like you said, one wheel up. So they're going to be kind of in the truck apron and in the travel lane. So there wouldn't be enough room for a car to
Okay.
get around there.
So no one would be confused into thinking that they had a lane that they could go around the truck on the outside?
Right.
Well, I mean, that's, you know, that's sort of my question, is that, I mean, is this safe?
It is, yeah. There are In Rhode Island, there are more and more. The Apponaug project that Bill mentioned, there's 5 roundabouts going in there. I think there's 4 in place already and 1 more coming. And there's, in other parts of the country, there are lots of roundabouts. I didn't get into it tonight, but there's a lot of research that's been done that roundabouts are actually much safer than traditional intersections.
Right, but I mean, but are there lots of them built with these truck aprons?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam President,
Mr. Edwards?
question for Director Anderson. Since you live over in that Apponaug, well, you live in East Greenwich, you're closer to Apponaug than most of us. Is there any chance you'd be able to take a couple of snapshots of what this looks like installed, and maybe we can get those on the town website?
Sure, not a problem. Yep.
I think that
I mean,
might
it's-
help
it
alleviate
is-
some people's concerns.
It is interesting when you first go into it, but once you do it a couple times, people will see in the signage. As long as there's signage, people will know where to go. Because you're slowing down as you're coming into it anyway. It's not straight through.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one point to that question is that actually most of the roundabouts in Apponaug are actually multi-lane roundabouts. So they have 2 lanes, which are typically a little more tricky to navigate than this is, which is mostly just a 1-lane roundabout. And I think the actual only pure 1-lane roundabout in Apponaug is the one that's not constructed yet, but it'll at least give an idea of what they look like.
So you mentioned that the DOT has reviewed this, and it's gone through 1 round of comments.
Yes.
So there's going to be a second round of review?
Yes, we're going to be submitting hopefully this week based on the comments that we have, the comments that we're getting from Bill, and that'll kind of get that to them, and at that point, we should be ready to go, unless they have any additional comments.
Okay. And I missed this, the DEM approval for this is?
Pending.
Pending?
Yes. It was submitted on June 23rd, so
Yes.
we would think we might see it this month, but I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. Now, this doesn't impact basically anybody's abutters. On either side of Hearst Lane, you're actually have more property.
Right, and Todd, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the only land that needs to be taken is land from Twin Rivers site.
Okay. Is there any impact up at the Stafford Road North? There are some entranceways or entrances into a business there that has gravel, and is there any major impact to that business?
No major impact.
Because I couldn't see on this diagram if that had any impact. In the first iteration of this, there were impacts to that, and the first iteration was Hearst Lane was still going to be a left-hand turn. So this is,
Before they moved it back.
they moved it south.
Yeah.
Right.
So it is a good design, moving it south, so Hearst Lane is now an actual entrance into the roundabout.
Right.
Any questions from the council? Any questions from the public? If you could come up to the podium. State your name and address.
Yeah, George Walsh, I'm on the subcommittee with the casino. Once all the DOT and everything is cleared, what do you anticipate for a time frame from the beginning to the end, if everything is on schedule without any delays? Time frame to complete the rotary? Are we talking months or a year? Will the casino be open before that time, or how do you?
No, the casino cannot open until the roundabout is functional.
That's what we want to find out.
But the timeline that they've mapped out shows that it can be accomplished in time for a July opening, or July 2018 opening.
Yeah, a year from now. Okay, just was the
That's
time
what
frame.
we're-
About
that's
a
what
year.
We're working towards.
Okay, good, thank you.
Hi, my name's Natalie Bergeron, 138 Abel Hart Lane. Just something for the council here to keep in mind. According to the Providence Journal on May 26th, in the first 4 months of 2017, the police reported 42 collisions at the Apponaug. If I'm massacring the pronunciation there, I apologize. 42 collisions at that roundabout. The same time in 2013, which is immediately prior to when construction of that roundabout began, there were 20 crashes. So we have more than doubled the amount of traffic incidents with this amazingly constructed, architected roundabout, then we would, then, you know, would be.
Thank you.
Joe Souza, 49 Hancock Street. A few questions. First, you didn't give a date for construction and a date for completion. When do you estimate to start the project? When do you estimate it'll be completed? And will there be something in the contract that guarantees that it doesn't drag on? Because we have a lot of times to see in the state, they start the job and then the crews disappear for a few weeks, go work somewhere else. So it should be a start to finish short date, maybe 45 days. Shouldn't take any more to build a small little rotary like that, considering you're not taking any buildings or anything. I do realize moving telephone poles, I know what happened to Mr. LeBeau. You have to schedule that with the power company. Sometimes, you know, they're working on a storm or something that happened up north or whatever. It's tough to get crews. But the completion date should be no more than 45 days beyond the start. Second thing, I haven't seen it up here much, but I know in Virginia, whenever it did construction, they always put a little road around the side. For instance, where you're coming out of Stafford to come on to Canning Boulevard, you got that section of field with the parking lot. I can assume a lot of people are going to try to cut through the parking lot in front of that little store coming from Stafford, like if you're coming from Fall River.
Yep.
If you could have a little, you know, I don't know if it's possible, but I think there's enough room around maybe that you can get, even if it's gravel, just to keep the traffic moving so you don't have the backups, because that intersection during, you know, rush hour can back up clear down at the Harbor Mall if just a small accident. I've seen it living over there. I looked at the rotary. It just looks kind of small for the area. I don't know. I guess I'm used to I call it a rotary because I guess I'm used to rotaries. They seem to be a lot bigger. I don't know. That, for the volume of the traffic, I'm assuming that studies show that circumference is adequate for the traffic, but just me looking at it, it looks kind of small. I don't know, that's just my personal opinion.
On the construction schedule itself, we hope to start in August, and the folks from Gilbane can correct me if I'm wrong, but you saw Todd do the 4 phases.
Yeah.
I think the first 3 phases get done this construction season, and then the 4th phase gets finished in the spring. And as far as keeping people on that schedule, everybody has a great deal of incentive to keep them on, so that's built into the contract. The question that you had about the roundabout and the studies and the size, I'm gonna turn over to Todd, because I don't know he knows the answer better than I do.
Yeah, so the size of the roundabout is typical for roundabout design, especially for a 1-lane roundabout. It will accommodate vehicles, like I mentioned earlier, vehicle traffic, car traffic around in the travel lane, and then also truck traffic to go around with the truck apron when needed.
Just the bulk of the traffic is on Stafford and Canning, so that's the bulk of the traffic. I just noticed that the alignment's almost straight, which makes me wonder if people coming in and around are gonna have a problem merging. And that's where I said the size. I wondered if it should have been larger, so that when you're coming up off Canning, you don't see a straight shot, you actually have to get into because that's how rotaries, if you notice how rotaries were designed. I think of the one up in the north end of Fall River, if you're familiar with that one. And that, no matter when you go into it, not much traffic there is, you're able to make that merge in easily, provided, you know, you gotta have a little, you know, I'm gonna go, but when I see the straight line, that's what kind of makes me wonder. I mean, it's on paper, I realize, maybe when it's actual size it'll be, but it just seems like it should be more of a, you know, slope out. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Ma'am?
Val Russo, Hearst, Songbird Lane. We were wondering about, well, naturally, I'm sure you thought of fire engines that are coming from wherever, but then getting off on Hearst quickly. Which one is Hearst here? Which?
Right up here.
All right. So will they be able to get on and get off and cut in front of the traffic to their right?
Yes. When the roundabout is constructed?
Yes.
Yes. So typically, cars would not stop in the roundabout when fire trucks are coming, although the design vehicle used for the roundabout is actually much larger than the fire trucks. So most of the fire trucks, I know that Chief is still here. They use on probably once in a while they have the large ladder truck from Portsmouth. I guess it comes at mutual aid, Tiverton. But even still, that's smaller than the larger design vehicles, the big long tractor trailers that are designed for.
Are you aware that where we live at Hurst Lane, they plan on opening another section and bringing in more of those houses on trailers, which are very large? And that's their only access. So I don't know how that would handle.
I'd have to look at that to see specifically.
Yeah.
Sometimes for something like that, they can do something different, and they probably have to get police details and maybe,
Right.
depending on how big it is.
There'd
maybe
be
go a
room, they
different-
just might have to
different route,
arrange
go the wrong
traffic
way or
control.
something to
Okay.
accommodate that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Jeffrey Belli, Birch Street. I just have one question for RIDOT. This roundabout is supposed to take care of the traffic problems on this road, correct?
It was implemented actually at the request of the town because of the issues with safety at the current intersection.
Okay. How is this roundabout going to succeed where the one in Newport has totally failed?
The roundabout is failed?
Yes. Early in the morning, cars going into the naval base will back up all the way down Connell Highway. And it's not only because of the naval base. If you go to try to get, like you're coming out of the naval base, they back all the way back up into the naval base because people stop at the beginning of the roundabout and they do not move. It's like another intersection all over again. And when the construction was going on the Newport, on the Pell Bridge, we had traffic backed up all the way up, back up Connell Highway, past Walmart, and it was all stopped in the roundabout. People could not, once the traffic backs up in the roundabout, there is no other lane for people to move. The same thing can happen here. If one person backs up or something happens because somebody don't know where to go, it's going to back everybody else up every street. The roundabouts do not work. There was a perfect rotary in Newport. They changed it to a roundabout, and now it doesn't work. It clogs up traffic in Newport for hours. It looks like this design is going to do the exact same thing. The roundabouts, in my opinion, do not work, and they're going to be putting 2 more of them in Middletown, and we're going to see how bad those work as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Belli.
Roger Belanger, 125 Stafford Road, Tiverton. What is going to be the speed limit change approaching this new design? Has any thought been given to that?
Not that I'm aware of, but the design speeds for the roundabout are...
Could you actually answer it at the mic so that people can hear this?
So as far as I know, there hasn't been any specific changes to the speed limit entering the intersection, the roundabout. But you will have to slow down just based on the geometry of the intersection to maybe somewhere in the range of 15 to 20 miles per hour to actually circumnavigate the roundabout.
And you fully expect people are going to do that on their own without any postings? They're going to slow down to 20? Brilliant. Okay. The other question I had is what kind of blasting and chunking away of ledge and such is going to have to be required as part of this construction?
Unlike the site, the casino site, there actually is no anticipated blasting at the roundabout. There is, I think, some ledge further away from the intersection, but as far as we know, based on the information that we have, there should be no blasting at the roundabout. And actually, for the most part, we're actually going to be filling in some of the areas to actually bring it up to grade.
Thank you.
I'm still a little bit confused on this ledge that's required for the trucks. I don't understand what the purpose of it is. It may have a valid purpose. I don't understand what it is. Can you describe why it's required? I fully expect that half the people that are going to be leaving the casino are going to be on two wheels anyways when they come flying out of there after drinking all night. So we'll have to deal with that kind of crap. But I want to know why the trucks are going to need this other ledge, what that's about. That's all.
Can I go over there? I don't know if I can take the microphone or not, but I'll
Oh.
try to maybe speak up. So when trucks are traveling around the intersection, because of their size, there's just not enough space for them to stay within the travel lane. So they have to, so for instance, this maneuver, they're going, say this way, they're gonna be coming around here, and then the back of the vehicle will actually encroach on this apron. So as the front of the vehicle is over here, the back is gonna be on the apron to get around. It's just because of the size of the truck. If you've seen them turning in any intersections, they have a much bigger path than a car does. Right, so that's what that's for, is just for them to be able to make those turns.
You're just talking about tractor-trailer trucks.
Tractor-trailer trucks. Probably smaller, like maybe FedEx trucks, probably wouldn't, it's just larger trucks.
So it's the sheer size, we can't go bigger with this rotary, whatever you want to call it, to allow the trucks enough room to drive around?
Right, you wouldn't want to do that, because when, I think someone asked earlier, if you have all this space for a travel lane, then you might have cars thinking it's more than one lane, and they might actually try to pass in the roundabout. And for this roundabout, especially a one-lane roundabout, you don't want that to occur. You actually want to keep it as one lane. You don't want people trying to pass in the roundabout.
Thank you.
Lauren King, 233 Norman Street, Fall River. I have two questions. One, what about once the casino is open, what about deliveries? Where will the delivery trucks? Is this the entrance for deliveries?
This is, yes. This is the primary entrance for the casino. There is, off the page to the south, there's an emergency access only, which is going to be gated. That's only going to be for fire and police access when they need it. Otherwise, all the traffic is coming through this intersection.
How are we to find out what your estimates are on traffic? Like how often a delivery is going to be made? What is the traffic? Have you done, I'm sure you've done studies of what kind of traffic you're expecting. We also have a new development in Fall River down the street. Have you assessed the traffic estimates there?
Yeah, we did do a full traffic study.
Once it was announced about that new mall development, the shopping center?
We have gone back and looked at some of the traffic for that, and there is excess capacity in the area to account for additional traffic.
Where can we find this information?
It's all filed with the planning board. It's all public record.
It's all on file with the planning board? So there won't be any additional studies, though, done to see, like, once that shopping center is open, because that's opening in the fall before the casino, if that's going to impact them. That's going to add quite a bit of traffic. It's a concern. There won't be any additional studies after that. My last question is, there won't be any traffic lights at all?
No, it's a roundabout actually is an alternative to a signalized traffic intersection, so there's actually no signalization of any kind.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Moniz?
Peter Monis, 83 Captain Circle. I have a couple questions, and the first one is basically about signs, which previously it was mentioned about the speed sign going into the rotary. I believe the speed limit is now posted about 45, and we travel 45 down that road, and we got to learn how to go slower. So I would suggest that when you go to the DOT for your review, that they study this area and do a new posting, that's appropriate for that entrance into that rotary. So maybe a 20 speed limit, 100 feet away from this entrance to the various entrances to the rotary. So please do that when you meet with them again. The sidewalks look pretty good for safety. My concern is about bicyclists traveling the roadway. Maybe there should be a sign to share the road awareness down in this area for bicyclists to be, prevent an accident occurring there. And of course, the bicyclist has to follow the same rules as the vehicle. The next thing is the right-hand turn into the casino coming from the north, I think you should post a sign there to say right-hand turn casino, you know, some type of sign that says that it's available and do it. Don't do it at the last minute. And landscaping in the center of the circle, to me, I think that's going to be a problem. Planting plants is fine. It's a very small rotary radius. In the wintertime, there's going to be a lot of salt on those plants. They're going to kill them. And then watering of those plants. So I would suggest maybe some little fancy concrete structure to jazz up the area, but not plants in the inner circle. And then we know the state of Rhode Island is not going to maintain those plants and hopefully they cut the grass. So to keep it down, low maintenance is the better way to go there. And two, I talked to you before that when you go to the DOT, they should come back again and give us some public relations, how to work into a rotary. It's going to be a change in the way we operate on that highway. Serving on the planning board in my research, Stafford Road in this area here is the highest traffic count in the town of Tiverton. It's right now 15,000 cars per day. With the casino, as you told me and told us, there's going to be another 3,000. So that's a 20% increase in traffic right in that area there. We should expect a queuing going north, because that's the weakest link in that rotary for traffic to merge into that area. So there might be cars backing up in that area. But we got to expect that down the road. It's a change of life. It's going to be a change. It's not going to be the same 45 miles straight through going down to Fall River. So, and I talked to you personally about the other stuff. So those are my questions, and hopefully you bring them up to the DOT.
Thank you, Mr. Munez. Ms. Hilton?
So, I'm sorry, I have one more question about this truck apron. I'm kind of stuck on this. Based on the size of this rotary and the size of some of the big trucks that travel that road, not just the delivery trucks coming in and out of the casino, but there's a, business district further south on Stafford Road. There's, gas stations, there's gas deliveries, there's all that sort of stuff. And there are also a lot of big agricultural trucks that use Stafford Road as well. Is the size of this intersection or this rotary such that if you've got an 18-wheeler or something bigger than, a UPS truck, that in order to navigate this, you're going to almost have to come to a stop before you enter the rotary?
Yes, well, all the approaches, I didn't get into that detail, but they're all yield conditions, so depending on if there's any traffic coming, you have to stop anyway.
Right.
If there's no traffic coming, they would have to slow down.
But even if there's no traffic coming, just based on the fact that if they're going to have to go up on that apron, right, potentially, I guess what I'm trying to envision is whether or not those big trucks, in order to safely get in there and safely get up on the apron, are going to have to come to almost a complete stop. And which is good for safety. The worry, though, is if you have a lot of those, pretty soon the traffic starts to back up really quickly because you've got big trucks needing to almost stop, and they don't start quickly. When you slow down a truck like that, it doesn't power back up. So I just wonder whether or not, especially during times when, you've got a lot of truck traffic or you've got the school buses, whether or not we're going to really see significant backup there.
Our analysis that we did was accounted, the trucks were accounted for in the analysis, so that was taken into consideration. And I think the trucks, they will need to slow down, definitely slower than the cars will. I guess it depends on how large they are. I don't think they would actually have to come to a physical stop if there's no traffic coming, but they would have to slow down to kind of get up around onto the apron.
Mr. Perry?
My question for Mr. Brayton is, the travel lane to the truck lane, you said there's about a 3-inch difference. Is that a grade or is that a actual lip? Is it a grade?
It's actually a slope face curb.
Okay. That was what I wanted to know.
Any other questions?
I just have one question about sight lines. Because it's a small arc and there's a new road being added for the casino, So if I'm an operator coming out of the casino in a big truck, what is the sight line looking aft? Have all those been worked out?
Yes.
Those are all acceptable?
Yes.
And up by Hurst Lane, where we have the 55 and over community, also adequate sight lines? Thank you.
Okay, so I think you've gotten feedback, and some very good feedback, especially on the speed limit signs. That's very important. The whole purpose of the roundabout is to slow down the traffic. That's why it's not a straight shot. Even coming up the boulevard, it jogs to the right. It's not a straight shot up like it is today. So the whole purpose of it is to slow down traffic going into the roundabout in order to accommodate all the entrances and exits from the roundabout. So I thank you, and if you could take these suggestions and work with DOT, that would be highly appreciated. Thank you, Mr. Brayton. Mr. Russo. Next item, I think you can just stay right there. C, Town Council sitting as Board of Licensing, advertised licenses subject to meeting all legal requirements. C1, Twin Rivers, public hearing for approval of sound variance for extended hours of construction work between 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. Mr. Russo.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the council. I think, as everyone knows, we've started an intensive phase of construction with earthwork and blasting. And what we had suggested to the town through various bodies, through the casino subcommittee, through the building official's office, through DPW, through a number of offices, is that we would monitor construction, monitor what we're doing for hours, monitor noise, and then at some point return to this council to discuss a variance from it's section 38-101 of the ordinances. And I'll just give you my read of that ordinance. I don't know if it's disputed or if it's not disputed, but that particular ordinance allows a construction project from 7 a.m. in the morning till 9 p.m. at night to function without noise restriction. I mean, obviously, you can't act completely at variance with your neighbors or without taking them into consideration whatsoever, but you don't have strict decibel ratings on your activities. Construction activities that take place after 9 p.m. at night and before 7 a.m., those are subject to noise restrictions. And
Excuse me. Mr. Brayton, if you could bring that to the back of the room and discuss any questions. Thank you. Mr. Russo?
Thank you.
Proceed.
so the activities from 9 p.m. at night to 7 a.m. in the morning are subject to noise restrictions. We took noise readings at various points on the property, various points on Stafford Road in May, and based on traffic, it fluctuated anywhere from 60, this is the ambient noise, from 60 decibels to 85. And if you look at your noise ordinance, 85 is where you should see your normal traffic, so you got higher readings down on Stafford Road. We've continued to take at different times, and it's part of Gilbane's charge, is to take noise readings on site at different points in time and at different stages of construction while things are going on. And if you go down on Stafford Road and different points further away, we are in the upper 80s, so we've increased noise, ambient noise in that area, not by a lot, but we have during heavier operations. At points closer, near where the parking garage is, et cetera, it's actually, it sounds counterintuitive, but it's lower because we don't have the ambient traffic noise at those areas. The ordinance wants you to be under 70 where your abutters are commercial and under 55 where your abutters are residential. And the reason why we took ambient readings is that's just not, I mean, that's not being achieved with traffic noise at our residential abutters, and we can't achieve it during construction. So technically, if we're doing construction outside the hours of 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., and a complaint was made to the police, and the police had to spend the money and take the decibel readings and so forth, we're gonna be technically in excess of the ordinance. I mean, there's no question about that. I mean, we're, we want to be candid, and we wouldn't be able to keep it under. So we took a look at what is the best way to seek a noise variance and what's the best way to communicate with the council. And what I'd like to try to do, as I said in the application, is take a point in time from now till the beginning of September, when we know we're going to be completing our earthwork, and what types of variances are we going to need for hours of operation at that point, and then come back here at the beginning of September and be able to look out ahead and say, okay, now here's what we're doing as far as a building coming out of the ground and the types of hours that we need to maintain, et cetera. So I don't think it's appropriate to ask for a blanket variance and just say we'd like to be able to operate from 9 p.m. at night to 7 a.m. in the morning, because someone's going to say, what are you doing then, and when are you doing it? So at least from now till the beginning of September, what we'd like to try to do is get a variance that allows us to begin construction at 6 a.m. Construction in the normal course will go to dusk, and dusk now is probably 8:45 or somewhere in that range. We're not going to do that every day, but it will happen. For example, with blasting going on now, they're going to start to be crushing rock on site, and there'll be some days when the crushing will go beyond the 6 o'clock hour. So that is something that'll be happening on site. Beyond that, as we get to the end of July, the only thing that we envision is that we're going to have to be doing concrete placements. If you recall, we have the ability to do foundation footings and some foundation aspects out of sequence. So those trucks will come in and pour when they get there. I mean, it could be late at night, it could be early in the morning. You know, we can't have them sit there with concrete in them. We'd be able to, obviously what we've done is alert police when we have late deliveries, alert fire. We have a blasting protocol to alert folks. We could do the same thing with the concrete deliveries. I just don't know, as I sit here today, what days they'll come. But I know they'll come, and they'll probably be after 9 o'clock at night. So from a technical standpoint, the request for a variance is to be able to, from now until September 1, start construction at 6, be able to report to you at the beginning of September where we are in our process and what we need to do. And then the other things that we do envision happening between the hours of 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. is in late July. We will be having concrete pours for the foundation outside those hours. So that's where we are at this point in time.
Any questions from the council?
I have a question.
Mr. LeBeau.
You guys are going to have, and this is just my opinion, okay? I don't agree with any construction except for what the town ordinance is now. I'm not going to grant or vote for overnight construction. These folks going through enough. You guys are going to have to, in my view, no, I'm not speaking for everybody, I'm speaking for me.
Yep.
I'd like to see you 7 to whatever the hour is, make it work. Hire more people, do what you got to do, but work inside that schedule. There's enough going on. And that's consensus of town, so that's just my point of view. And I know Gilbane and you guys can pull it off. You don't need to work overnight. I have fireworks blasting over my house the other night, and it's 4th of July, and it pisses me off.
Yep.
So that's gonna.
No, we're not planning to work overnight.
I know, but you're putting it out there where you could work overnight, and these concrete trucks should come in at night, and these people, life sucks for them as it is.
Yep.
You know, it's coming, the casino's coming, but let's come smooth. And it's, again, my opinion on that.
Understand.
Right.
Madam President.
Madam President.
Mr. Edwards?
Sure. Actually, Councilor Ryan, if you'd like to go, by all means.
Ms. Ryan?
I was gonna wait to see what the people in town wanted, because I actually agree with Councilor LeBeau, but it sounded from what he said that I got my answer. I mean, I also think that they've got so much stuff going on there, and it's, I think you should make it work with the hours that are given. And I know it's not what you want to hear, and I know it's tough, but I think it's tougher on the people around there. So I agree with Councilor
Well,
LeBeau.
a project that size is going to have impact on folks no matter what you do.
That's right.
So just by way of example, I'll give you an example. On the blasting protocols, state law requires us to go out 500 feet. We don't have any abutters within 500 feet. We went out to 1,000. And we suggested a protocol. We had meetings where the protocol was to give an hour notice. Now, we sent out a letter for 24 hour.
Yeah, I
Then
thought
we
that
started
was
blasting,
24.
and people got upset. So now we've gone to a 24 hour. And giving a 1 hour. And giving police our total schedule. And putting our total schedule on the website. So we're trying our best to balance.
Okay, hold on a minute. Is that, I thought the protocol was that you were going to give 24 hours.
We sent a
And then-
letter, out to the
To the
abutters
abu-
saying
yeah.
we would give 24-hour notice.
okay.
Then we put on a community meeting, and at the community meeting, the blasting folks said, that's not really gonna be workable because we don't know exactly what time, so we'll give our notice. And that's what we did. And then we had folks complain that they didn't get 24-hour notice, so now we've gone to 24-hour notice, plus the 1 hour notice, plus posting it on the website. So we're trying as best we can to balance it. But you won't make the schedule if we don't get some relaxation. Now, the ordinance doesn't say that you can't do construction outside of hours. It just puts
No.
noise restrictions on you
Right.
outside of hours.
Right. No, I
So,
understand that.
I'm just trying to avoid getting into a battle of whether we're really violating the noise ordinances or not. If you have ambient noise at Stafford Road at 85, and you have construction at 85, let's say, then you're not really violating the noise ordinance.
Right.
So, we can get into that. I was hoping that we could do it in a way that,
Look, I understand what you're saying, and I understand where you're coming from. You're coming from the business, you want to get the thing up, you want to get it going and developed. I understand that. The flip side is you've got all these people who are already getting a lot of grief. And I think they know that they have to, the casino is going to be built. But at the same time, I think I'd go on the side of them rather than, I think what Randy said is probably right. You guys will make it happen. And what I'm also more afraid of is the slippage kind of thing. Not slippage with money, but slippage with, it's going to be, and I'm just saying this stuff, okay? 6 o'clock, they're going to start, and it's only going to be for 2 months. And then I'm just afraid, well, it worked out pretty good for 2 months. Let's do it again for another 3 months, or let's do it again for another, because that, to me, is what has been happening. So, and I also understand I get two different sides. What you just said about the blasting is not this, that I heard another side of the story. And so it's like I'm trying to figure out which side is correct. But truthfully, I would land on the side of the people who live here. You're going to get your casino. It's going to go, and it's just like it might be a little bit longer, but I think it's, and I think also what Randy had said is like if you get more people in there, that's one way to do it as well.
I think you can do it in your time. I mean, you can get it in your time. You're going to have to stretch your time frame. You can do it. You're shaking your head. No, you can't, but Gilbane can do it.
no, they can't.
Yeah, they can. Try.
Believe me, we've pounded it.
Yeah,
We're
well,
doing
you
the best
can't.
we can.
It's just.
Okay, but the other thing is anyhow, besides that, it's just like the ordinance is there. It says it's there. You knew it was there. Gilbane knows it's there. They knew it was there, and so it's like that's what you got to work with, in my feeling.
No, I understand. But,
Okay.
I mean,
No, and I know.
no,
you're
and the council's been great with us. I'm just trying to have a constructive discussion. I mean,
No.
we knew we'd be at this point.
Yep,
And we suggested a protocol as to how to address it.
yep,
And everybody said that made sense.
yep.
And now we're here. And, I don't, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah,
But you
yeah.
also have to take into account that the noise readings that we're getting are not, I mean, they match up with a project of this size, and the ordinance does allow us to go outside those timeframes. So,
But,
Madam President, there's a time for public comment.
Continue.
what I was saying is, the way the ordinance is set up is that you can continue to work outside those hours. You just have to take certain steps with regard to noise. And you can't, I mean, we specifically chose this site because we are 700 to 1,000 feet away from our abutters. And I'm not suggesting that, I'm just saying technically, if we continue to work, I mean, we're gonna try to work with the council, we're not gonna do something that just thumbs our nose at the council, that would be foolish. But if we technically continue to work, I'm not so sure we're violating that noise ordinance. So, in some ways, I just don't wanna be, punished isn't the right word, but I just don't want to be put in a position where we can continue to work outside those hours, and we said, here's a protocol that we'll do, so we're having open communications, and then it's, well, no, I'm gonna deny you the variance, meaning you can't work outside those hours, which the ordinance does allow us to do. We're just trying to do it in a way that's responsible.
Mr. Edwards?
Thank you. I was just going to make a comment similar to Councilor LeBeau's. I mean, you guys are working with Gilbane. I mean, if Gilbane, a large company like they are, can't tell their subcontractors in the concrete when to show up with the concrete, that's a problem. So that's just my only comment.
Okay. Hold on. Do you have comments? Ms. Hilton?
I do a little bit. And, you know, the whole measurement of sound thing, and I'm sure that Chief Blakey will agree with this, is a little fuzzy anyway. But, you know, there's a difference. I mean, if you live in the Stafford Road neighborhood, you're used to a certain amount of sort of road traffic noise that starts in the morning. But that's a whole lot different than construction noise. Construction noise is entirely different, and it's, you know, it can be a whole lot more jarring. And, you know, I agree with a number of my fellow councilors here that, you know, that neighborhood is going to experience significant disruption in their lives for an extended period of time. And, you know, I would prefer to minimize that, and especially during the summer months when people are sleeping with their windows open. You know, not everybody wants to be awake at 6 o'clock every morning. So I'd like to see you find another way to make this work rather than, you know, asking us to put more burden on an area of town that is going to be living through a construction project for a long time.
Well, then I would suggest let us go back to the drawing board and come back to you with another proposal then.
Since this is a public hearing, I will open it up to the public for any public comment. Come up to the podium. Yep.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Karen Benson. As most of you know, I represent Roger Belanger and his family. They live on Stafford Road. I represent Mr. and Mrs. Gendro. They are direct abutters to the construction site. And I also represent Clara Custy, who lives on Hearst Lane. Mr. Belanger and his wife are here. I want to sort of amplify what Ms. Hilton said, because that's the nature of my comments, to try to put a face on how this actually impacts the community. And I know that the chief is aware of this, and I know that many of the councilors are too, but in addition to Mr. and Mrs. Belanger living in their home, they also have their 80-year-old in-laws living with them. And it is a different quality of noise. It's not like that ambient sound of traffic going by. We have recordings. I don't know if you've had them, and we're continuing to monitor them. They're not scientific, but it does illustrate just how different it is from just cars whizzing by. So I hear now from my brother what exactly the variance request is, but if there is going to be another approach, I'd like some more information on how much noise they want to make, what the specific times will be, and can they confine them to specific times on specific days, so that if possible, in the event that you decided to entertain a second bite of the apple, at least I could advise my clients on what their rights were underneath our ordinance. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Council. My name is Richard Cabaceras. I'm a Fall River City Councilor. I live at 225 Wilson Road in Fall River. It's good to see you. I've talked to many of you offline. We try very hard in Fall River to be good neighbors to Tiverton, just like you try to be good neighbors to us. And as many of you know, this new casino proposal doesn't benefit Fall River very much. If anything, it's a burden on our community. And doing something along these lines could burden our community more so. I've had some neighbors reach out to me and talk about the noise and talk about how they can hear it and how it's waking them up early in the morning. And I'm hearing the same thing coming from your community as well. So today I'm asking and reaching out to you and asking you to be great neighbors for us. And if you have any issues with what's happening in our city, I'll try to be a great neighbor and advocate for you as well. So thank you for having me, and hopefully you'll do the right thing for both of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe Souza, 49 Hancock Street. According to Google Maps distance meter, I live 1,750 feet from blast zero. I hear every blast, I hear every strike of the hammer. I don't like it either. I'm home, this week cutting grass. I can feel the blast even on my lawnmower. But, that zone was, put in our comprehensive plan to bring in some economic development. So I know that. I know why we're having a businesses go in there. I personally would like to see them finish. So if they accelerate the construction, let's start off first, okay? Let's face it. The most noise is being made right now. You got those huge hydraulic hammers slamming the rock. They're drilling, they're blasting. That's the noise we're hearing now. That's the largest amount of noise you're gonna hear coming from that site. Once the footings are in, they start doing form work, you're not gonna hear them. You're not gonna hear the trucks because the trucks are going up on the Fall River end. In my opinion, we should allow them to accelerate the construction so they can finish it, so we can get back to the piece. If you drag it out, we're gonna hear the blasting clear into the fall. Let them get up there and knock it out and finish it and get the footings in the ground. And then you're not, like I said, when they're up there working inside the building doing electrical, if they're at 12 o'clock at night, what difference does it make? You're not gonna hear them out of that woods. They're inside of a building, it's winter, everybody has their, and that's where they're gonna be at that point. Let them finish the job, and let them finish it fast. I don't know, it makes me mad, because we got a chance here for something good finally coming to this town. I understand some people, they're retired, they got all day to sit home and watch TV or whatever they're doing, and they hear every bang. I understand that. Well, I get out of the house and I go somewhere to get away from it, I guess. That's my advice. Get out of the house and go somewhere. Get away from it a while. Put a smile back on your face. Give them what they need to get the job done quickly. Then it'll be over and you won't hear it.
Madam President.
Thank you.
Joe, I agree with you on
Mr.
once the
LeBeau.
building, once the building is done and they can work inside, they can work as long as they want, so long as the neighbors don't have to put up with it. They can Gilbane can get their building up, and then they can work quietly inside the building, and I do agree with you. I'd like to get it done and get it over with.
But if you let them go later in the evening in the summertime when the sun's out and they can be up there and work, they can get the rock work done. That's the noise you're hearing. Once the rock work is done, you're not even, if they're in the trucks going in there pour concrete, you're not going to be able to hear them if you're standing on Stafford Road. They're going in up on right on the Fall River line through the industrial park. They're not causing any traffic problems. Let me tell you, they're not even dragging any mud out of that site. You go up to somewhere they're building houses around here, every truck leaving is dragging mud. Their site is clean. They don't drag any mud out on the road. They got a police officer out there taking care of traffic so there's no backups when any traffic come in and out. They're doing a hell of a job up there.
I agree.
Help them! Help them!
Joe, easy there, Joe. Hey, I agree,
Mr.
Joe.
LeBeau.
They're doing a great
Mr.
job
LeBeau.
over there. Hey.
Mr. LeBeau.
No, I'm talking right now. Give me a minute, will you?
No.
Everybody else gets to say what they want all the time. Every time I get a mic in my hand, it's Mr. LeBeau. Let's have quiet here. Here we go. Here we go.
Mr.
Let's bang
LeBeau.
the hammer on me some more.
LeBeau.
What? That's
You can-
enough.
you
All
can
right? I'm
make
tired
your
of
comments later.
No. It's in my head now. It needs to come out now.
It's our turn now.
You wait.
Mr. LeBeau, this is a public hearing. This is for
I was
the
talking to
the-
Joe. He's
the-
public.
It's for their comments to us.
Oh,
Then you'll have.
Okay, you get your
your
hammer going
recap.
on me again like you do every other week. LeBeau, Mr. Bo, be quiet. Never mind what
Mr.
everybody
LeBeau.
else wants. Let's just be quiet.
You're out of order, please.
Yeah, I'm always out of order.
To, do I
Mr.
have to-
Belanger.
Mr. Belanger, 125 Stafford Road. Right on top of the construction.
You're about the same distance I am.
200 feet, right on top of the construction. Now, I just want to make a comment to what Ms. Hilton was saying before, as far as the kind of noise that we hear, okay, is something that individually you hear a bang, or you hear some kind of construction noise, a little bit here and there. It's the constant. Okay, we couldn't even eat dinner tonight and listen to our TV at our house because this constant noise was going on. Okay, enough is enough. And to the point she made about, or somebody made about stretching this thing out, we're already stretching it out. This stuff is starting before 6 a.m. now. The line is in the sand is 7 a.m. It's well before that. And I know you know that. I know you're nodding because we've already shared this information with you. But it's just constant noise, and I really appreciate the support that some of you have given us as far as being able to keep this restricted. Again, I agree wholeheartedly with Randy and what John Edwards said. Gilbay's a pretty big outfit, and they put their mind to it. They can get this crap done in normal hours, so it's not affecting families and people that can't get up and ride on their motorcycle whenever the hell they want. They can just go and have to get up and go to work in the morning, and they have to come home at night and relax in peace. Families that have kids, they need to put their kids up into bed at normal times. I'm done. Thank you.
Ma'am?
Lauren King, 233 Norman Street, Fall River. I hear the sounds at my house, and I'm not on top of the site as Mr. Belanger is. I'm just here to say, please do what you said just now and take the residents of that whole area into account. We don't want it. There is no reason that they can't confine the work to the hours that were specified, and that you should be held to doing it to those hours and not encroach on either side of the 7 to 9, because it is really disruptive. It is really disturbing, and thank you for saying it is summertime. We're outside. We've got windows open, and you can hear it for quite a distance. Thank you.
Mr. Belli?
I just, real quick, they've been banging ledge at Maplewood Cemetery for almost a year and a half now. So if you're living in Fall River, in the Maplewood area, what you're hearing is that. And it's been going on for over a year and a half down at the bottom of the cemetery in Maplewood.
Mr. Belli?
Jeffrey Bell at Birch Street. The one thing I would like to ask this council, and it's pretty straightforward, you know, I'm not asking for anything exquisite. Twin River made a promise to the people to get their votes, to get this casino approved. Hold them to their promise and make them eat crow. They've made promises. It seems now they're backing out on those promises to the people that voted for this. If they're going to back out on their promises, then we don't need them here in Tiverton. Thank you.
Ma'am?
Carol Silva, 1600 Eagleville Road in Tiverton. I'm a direct abutter of the casino. I have just maybe three concerns on that extending the hours. First of all, I think that contract went out to bids, and when the contractors bid on that, I think they bid on it with the constraints of the hours that they had to work under. So by changing that now, that's not really fair to the people who bid the jobs, I don't think, who bid it with the constraints of the work hours. So that's one thing. Another thing is, I did go to the blast meeting at Little Bears, and I was told that because I have a building closer than anybody else to where the ground waves would be, that behind my garage, it's a big auxiliary farm building, they would set up, I don't know the name of the machine, but they were going to set up something there, and it was going to measure the disturbance underneath the ground. And I give permission for that. I gave 100% permission for that. That hasn't happened. So that's another thing. And also, I want to speak for the wildlife, because they're not here tonight, and they're very much displaced by all this activity, and they travel on the early hours of the morning, and that blasting starting earlier is really going to disturb them even more. I don't know if anybody else has seen the displacement of the wildlife. I've seen it big time. So at least if they can have the peace of moving in the early morning hours, which is their normal time, you know, that would be good for them because they can't speak. That's about it. And thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Jim Swartz, 169 Stafford Road. The easy way to solve the problem with the noise, change your variant, your ordinance, to no construction between or after the hours of 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., because they're going to push the limit.
Thank you.
At work construction where they do it before.
Pat Gendro, 81 Stafford Road. I'm one of the Life Sucks guys. Just want to offer an opportunity for you people to come by my house anytime during the day. If I'm home or I'm not home, I have a patio in the backyard. You're welcome to go and really listen to what we have to hear. Because I don't think talking about it, levels and whatnot, can really do justice to the sounds. I get it. It's building, it's construction. I understand. It passed. We get it. But can we at least abide by the rules? That's all. That's all we're asking. Abide by the rules. It's 5:30. I've called twice. It's 5:30. It's 5:45. Come on. If I have to abide by the rules when I'm doing my roof, they should have to abide by the rules. That's all. Just keep things fair. And again, that's an invitation. You're welcome to walk in my backyard anytime you want. You're welcome to hear it. I'm sure you've already heard it. But that goes for everybody. Thank you for hearing me out. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Yes, ma'am.
Natalie Bergeron, Abel Hart Lane. For those of you who aren't familiar with where Abel Hart Lane is, our town, it's right along East Road. I live about as far away from this problem as you possibly can in our town. I think it's completely rude that you're text messaging while I'm speaking as well, Mr. LeBeau. Let me put that on the record.
Yeah, go ahead, put it on the record.
Mr. LeBeau.
Will you stop with me already? If they say something to me, I'm going to say something back. End of the story. She has no idea what I'm doing.
You're not paying attention to me, I know that.
Every word you're saying.
Okay. I live about as far away from this casino as you can in our town, other than living down near Gray's. And I'm here because I feel the pain that everyone that lives on Stafford Road and lives down near Notre Dame in Fall River feels. I have family that used to have a home down there. I understand what that area is like. I understand the relationships and the close ties, and you're all very close together down there too. So I'm here to stand up and to say that you guys are not alone. Like, just because you're down there, you're not the only ones in this town fighting for the sanctity of our small town. And, you know, you said, forgive me, I don't know your name again, Mr. Souza. You said that, you know, let them go. Let's get this shit done quick. Come back. Let's get our peace of mind back. Peace of mind is gone now in this town. For all those people who live on Stafford Road are now going to have to deal with incessant traffic, backups, tractor trailers, maybe some drug users tossing maybe some drug users. I'm talking to you because I addressed you.
Ma'am, you have to talk to the council, not to individuals in the
Fair
audience.
enough. So now we're going to be dealing with potential drug users. Maybe you'll have a couple of needles tossed out the window onto your lawn. Yeah, maybe Mr. Belanger will be cleaning up after himself. We'll have people who are drinking and driving coming out of there. We will have incessant traffic, noise, backup, and the 15,000 people that are already part of this traffic study and the 3,000 that I think people said were supposed to be coming because of this casino also are going to be amplified by the traffic coming up Stafford Road into Fall River, because we're going to have a market basket. Amazing. It's going to be low prices, and all the people from Westport and that side of Dartmouth are no longer going to be going to Dartmouth to get their groceries. Everyone's going to be coming to Market Basket because that's where the money is saved. So if you think it's just 3,000 additional people that are going to be clouding up this rotary, you're all joking. You're all kidding yourself. And I know there's a lot of people here who are not in support of the casino, and I'm sure that there are a lot of people who are. But I feel as though it's my responsibility as a young resident of this town who has no vested interest in the casino, hates the idea of it, and is as far away and probably the least bothered by it as you can be. But I am here to stand ground with those people who don't feel like this is the right decision for this town. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Any more comments from the public? Last call. Any more comments from the public? The public hearing is now closed. Mr. Rousseau, what is your
Yes.
game plan?
Well, Madam President, I mean, I heard some comments I just want to address, and one of them is we're not planning on blasting starting at 6 o'clock. We wouldn't, I mean, we'd be more than willing to accept a limitation that we can't blast unless it's between the hours of the 7 to 9. So that's number one. I think what I'd like to do, if at all possible, is it possible to continue this to the next meeting and be able to maybe propose something that may work with some limitations of what we can and can't do at 6 o'clock? If the council's completely opposed to doing anything, then I don't want to waste your time, but we're just trying to balance as best we can and get the project done.
Madam President?
Mr. Edwards?
I just have a question, and maybe I guess this is more directed towards the solicitor. So our ordinances do not have a restriction on actually doing construction. It's just solely on the noise generated from such activity, correct?
No, I don't agree with that statement, actually.
Okay, because that's how I feel like it was presented to me. So what's your interpretation?
Well, and I do have some differences with Mr. Russo on this thing. You're looking at two separate ordinances on this. Section 38-1057 exempts construction and demolition noise, so long as that noise does not occur between the hours of 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. But, you also have Section 38-144D, and that limits construction and demolition work between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. So those ordinances track each other. So when the question comes with just construction as opposed to just noise, those are the hours that are set in your ordinance for construction work. So I had thought that this variance was directed towards both the noise and also the construction and demolition. But the plain fact is that Section 38-144D governs construction. That's outside construction, by the way, but it's construction. It's not just noise.
So am I correct in assuming that even if the council was in favor of approving some sort of a sound variance, it still would not permit them to continue doing anything because they're not here for a variance for Section 38-144D?
Well, it's in Chapter 38. Section 38-122 is the variance section, and it's directed to both. But you'd really need a variance for both sections, which you're eligible to do under this chapter. 122 is the catch-all. That's how you get your variance.
That's what I interpret it differently, but we've asked for a variance from both hours and the noise.
Okay. I mean, I would make a motion to continue if you feel like you want to bring something back more specific. Yeah, I think we should at least give you the opportunity to speak, but doesn't necessarily mean we're going to do anything.
I understand.
Madam President?
Ms. Ryan?
I guess if you come back, you said you would rethink it, but if you come back, you still want to work at 6 o'clock.
I don't know,
Right.
I'd like to speak to Gilbane and see what we can do.
Okay.
I mean, I've been before this
Okay.
council numerous times
Mhm.
and have been treated very fairly.
Yeah.
And I don't have to be the amazing Kreskin to determine that you're not prepared to give me the variance tonight, so. And
That's
Mr.
good. That's
Councilman
good.
LeBeau has said Gilbane can do this and that. I'd like to talk to them and see what we can do. I will tell you that in order to finish this within the time frame,
Yep.
I mean, we've all got to think outside the box and be able to do it. And I know that what former Councilman Souza said wasn't popular with the crowd, but he's right. I mean, we're trying to get this done by the beginning of August and get the heavy earthwork out of the way, which is a benefit for everybody.
No, I understand that, but I guess the box that you're talking about, you want to work outside the box, but I want that box to be 7 o'clock. I don't want it to be 6. Because and so, you know, if you say you want to work outside of the box, work outside of the box, but keep that box 7 o'clock till 9. I know that's not what you want to hear either, but,
Then I would
you
need
know,
to come back.
well, that's what I'm thinking, but what's the, what's the implications? I mean, it's just like if we just say no now, or, I guess I'm not understanding why the, why, yeah.
The
go ahead.
request is for a sound variance. It's nothing, says nothing about a variance on construction and demolition.
Well, you're gonna
The way-
need that too.
The way I read this. So if they want a variance on the construction timeframe, we would have to advertise that, and they'd have to come back with a proposal, correct?
That's correct, yes.
So I've closed the public hearing on the noise variance. So I think that's a dead issue. If you want to come back, you're going to have to re-advertise and ask for a variance of the construction parameters that are in the ordinance, 38-44.
144D.
Because I think that's what you're going to get bounced up against, not so much the noise. So even if we gave you the noise, you'd still be restricted under that ordinance. So I think you really need to rethink this.
Madam President,
Mr. Edwards?
just for Attorney Rousseau, if you do come back and it has something to do related to construction, would it be possible to have a representative from Gilbane with
They're
you?
here.
So they can, I think they would be probably more equipped to answer construction-related questions.
Yeah, no, they're here tonight.
Oh, they are?
I'm not so sure that would have changed things for tonight. I think I have to go back and relook at it.
I mean, perhaps if there was like a publicized time schedule or something that has to do with the project.
Yeah, understood.
That might be helpful.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So do we need to vote on this matter?
I think to keep the record clear, yes.
So do I have a motion?
Motion to continue to the next meeting? Is that what we're looking for? If you're going to come back?
No, they have to apply for a different type of variance.
Gotcha.
Madam President, I don't mind withdrawing the request for a variance tonight, and we'll go back and start over.
That's better.
One question, do they only work
Mr.
Monday
Perry.
through Friday? Is that all they're working at the site, Monday through Friday?
No,
So they're working 7 days a week, is what you're telling me?
not 7 now, but working 6.
So we have, from the applicant, we have a motion to withdraw this.
The request to withdraw, and the question is whether or not to accept the request.
So do I have a motion to accept the request to withdraw this variance request?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, D, we'll give a little time for people to exit.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest that we wait a minute.
Ms. LeBeau, Ms. Ryan, we are now back. D, appointments and resignations. 1, Board of Canvassers, Republican Committee list, 6-year term to 10/15/2023. 1A, Bobby Harris, 442 Stone Church Road, Republican Town Committee recommendation. 1B, Agnes Johnson, 97 Topsail Drive. 1C, Vicky Richmond at 327 Village Road. 1D, Wayne Moran, 339 Village Road. And 1E, Jeannie Mae Durfee, 2411 Main Road. It is required by state law that the town council president nominate the Board of Canvas representative from the Republican committee list. I nominate Bobby Harris. Do I have a
Madam
second?
Second.
Oh, discussion.
Discussion?
Yeah.
Madam President.
Oh, no,
Oh.
Randy said second, so then I said discussion.
Correct.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second.
Yep.
You requested discussion?
Yeah, I just
Ms.
want,
Ryan?
yeah. So could you just explain to me, what, is it, out of these 5 people, there's just, they put the Republican committee puts a list of 5 people, and then you just choose one? Is that how it works?
That's correct.
Okay.
May I I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I
Madam
didn't
President.
understand this.
Under section 17-8-1, this is a bipartisan authority. It's one of the few boards that requires a bipartisan, by-party makeup. Council President is correct. What will happen is that, I guess this is one of the Republican appointments
Yeah.
to the board. That group is required to send a list of 5 names to the town council. Out of those 5 names, the council president nominates one of them, and then the council votes on it. It's all by statute. This is a statute that was originally enacted in 1956. It's been on the books since. That's the procedure by state law.
Okay. And so it's the same thing if the Democratic Party does the same? Oh, it's not.
Democrats could have put 5 names up as well.
Yeah.
And the president could have nominated from either the Democratic list or the Republican list, because there's a vacancy.
Oh,
His
okay.
term is up, and so they could have, she could have chosen from either list.
Okay.
But the Democrats did not put forth.
Got it.
They weren't noticed of it, and they did not put forth a list. So you only have the Republican list.
Okay, may I ask a question, though? I mean, it's still going to remain a bipartisan board.
It's a bipartisan board, but you would have had both parties submit a listing of 5.
Correct. Is there a Democrat on the board now?
Yes, Paul
Yes,
Lamoureux.
it has
Okay.
to, cannot be more than 2 members on the
Okay.
same party.
Okay.
Madam President,
Mr. Edwards?
for the record, as a registered Democrat, I would be remiss in saying that I would have preferred you nominate who the Republicans least wanted to see on the board.
Johnny, behave before you get hammered.
Cool.
Any other discussion? Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Didn't say I wouldn't vote for it, though.
D2, Harbor Coastal Waters Management, 4 reappointments for 2-year terms to 7/15/2019. 2A, Stephen W. Anderson, 89 Swanberg Lane. 2B, Charles E. Lawrence, 108 Long Pasture Way. 2C, David E. Stewart, 593 Highland Road. 2D, Roger F. Winoski, 130 Boogamarsh Road. Do I have any motions? I don't believe any of these folks are here. Nope. Since these are reappointments, we can proceed.
Correct. And you
Based
can make
upon
a
our
batch
policies.
motion if the council wishes.
Madam President, I'll make a motion to reappoint Stephen W. Anderson, Charles E. Lawrence, David E. Stewart, and Roger F. Winarski to the Harbor Coastal Waters Management Committee, 2-year terms to 7/15/2019.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Unanimous. Economic Development Commission, 1 reappointment, 4-year term to 7/15/2021. 3A, Renee DeJesus Jones, 161 Highland Road. Do you have any comments, Renee? Or
No, I have no comments. I would like to continue serving. That's my comment.
all right. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we reappoint Renee DeJesus Jones to the Economic Development Commission.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Unanimous. Library Board of Trustee, 1 vacancy, unexpired 3-year term to 10/15/2018. 4A Melinda Foley Mazzello, 3991 Main Road. Yes?
Madam President, I did receive another request for appointment today, so, and this is a vacancy on it.
There's only 1 vacancy.
There's only 1 vacancy, and today I received a second request.
Madam President,
Linda is here. Yes, Mr. Edwards?
I was going to suggest we continue this to the next meeting, just because we haven't seen the other applicant. Maybe we could do them both at the same time. Just my thought, unless Linda's here.
While Ms. Foley Mazzello is here, I think we should interview her for the...
Works for me.
Would you like to come up and tell us a little bit about yourself and why you'd like this position?
My name is Melinda Foley Marcello. I've been a resident of the town for 20 years. I'm actually serving currently on the Harbor Commission. A year ago, I retired from a 30-year career in education as a teacher and an administrator, and I feel like I would do a great job on the library board.
Have you attended any of their meetings?
I have not. I've gone to some friends' meetings.
Friends
Yep.
of the library.
Yep.
Any questions from the council? They have had problems having a quorum at their meeting. We would need commitment.
Yep. I think someone told me it was every other Wednesday. I can't remember, but I remember thinking it was not the same night as the Harbor Commission, so I could do it.
Yeah, I think it's on Wednesdays. It's once a month.
Once a month.
Third
Yep.
Wednesday of the month.
That wouldn't be a problem.
So that's not a problem?
No.
Okay, just had to double check, make sure. Okay, so we have another applicant.
Yes, I got one in today.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'll just wait in here.
Yep.
Okay.
So that would, do we need a motion to continue that to the next meeting?
Yes.
Madam President,
Mr. Edwards?
motion to continue appointment of the Library Board of Trustees, single vacancy, to the next meeting.
Second.
A motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Unanimous. D5, Planning Board, 2 vacancies and 1 reappointment, 3-year terms to 7/15/2020. 5A, Susan Gill, 1392 Main Road. Now, is this the 1 reappointment? I
Yeah,
just have a
she
question.
is on, this would be a reappointment.
Right, okay. Hi.
Hi. I guess for people that don't know me on the council, just a little background. My primary education was in nursing. I've worked coronary care units, intensive care units around the country over a period of time. I also ran a small business for about 5 years as an owner-operator on the east side of Providence. Since doing that, I've also had 4 children who are now grown and out of the house most of the time. And so I have time and energy to contribute. I have served on the Economic Development Commission as a member and vice chair. I served on the Recreation Commission as a member and chairman. And during that tenure, I helped coordinate the implementation of, what was it? Oh, the initial trunk or treat program, the independent contractors, the food trucks at the beach, and also the kayaking and paddleboard program that started down there a couple summers ago. Since joining the planning board, I've learned a tremendous amount. I worked on the comprehensive community plan extensively 2 summers ago when it was before us. I've sat on the Tiverton Heights comprehensive permit. I've sat on the Carpionado development program. What else have I done? I'm now the vice chairman of the planning board. I also this winter helped coordinate the development of the bylaws and the policies and procedures that you received this winter. I've also been serving for the last 2 years on the Grinnell's Beach Improvement Program, and I, once a week, do Meals on Wheels. So I've learned a lot about the community, and I enjoy it. I like to give of my time. I like to volunteer, and I like to make a positive contribution to the community. So.
And Susan is also neglected to mention that she has been graciously serving as our interim administrative officer for planning now for how long?
2 months.
Yeah,
2 months.
and if you've spent any time down in the planning office, it is functioning at a remarkably higher level than it was before. So thank you, Susan.
Do we have any other applicants?
No, and you'll notice that someone has resigned as well on the bottom. But I do have to make mention that Brett Pelletier is currently on the board, and I did not list him on here, but he is willing to continue on the board. I'll have to put him on the next meeting, and there's no problem with him sitting on planning in between, right?
Yeah, he's uninterested in being reappointed for a full term.
He won't make a full term, but he said till September or until you can, give you time to find some more candidates. It'll at least keep a quorum and things going. So I will have to put his name on the next agenda.
So is he one of the 2 vacancies?
Yes, yes.
Yes, he's going to be one of those 2 vacancies.
He was interested to
'cause
sit
He was
through.
only filling in an
Right.
unexpired term.
He was
No, but I
interested to
think
stay
that
on till
the
he got
other
through the
vacancy is
casino.
Later on, Ed Campbell has resigned.
How many members are on that board?
9.
9.
And
So-
you have 1 resigning,
Right.
and you have 2 vacancies.
Oh, counting that resignation.
This one resigning you do. You have 1 vacancy now, and that resignation will make 2.
So they're down to 7 members on the board right now.
Well,
No.
Brett's still there. He was willing to, or able to stay through August to get us through the final plan of the casino program. And that would make sense to let him stay.
I believe we'd
get-
have to vote on
to
that, though,
sit on
right?
that.
Because isn't he technically filling a term that's expired at the same time as yours?
Yeah, actually, I
Yeah.
gotta tell you, I'm a little uncomfortable with the discussion because it's not on the agenda for tonight. You don't have his resignation on, so I think you need to
Right.
confine it to what you're doing with Ms. Gill, just to comply with the Open Meetings Act.
Right.
So that'd be a discussion for the next meeting.
I'm just trying to get an idea how many vacancies they have right now, if they can come up with a quorum for a meeting.
Okay,
That's
and-
what I'm trying to find out right now.
Here's what you need to know, Mr. Perry, on this. Under the State Enabling Act, a quorum for planning board purposes is never based on the amount of members that are there. It's your vote has to be a majority of the total members.
Right.
That can create some problems if, there's a quorum, 9 members, you have 5, but that means all 5 have to vote for the application for it to be successful. It's a 4-to-1 vote, it goes down.
Right.
So that's something to bear in mind when you think about your membership of the planning board.
That's why I'm asking the question.
Now, you must have anticipated my answer.
I did.
We were all having that question.
So, Madam President, since Susan is a reappointment, and we're not addressing, later on, we're accepting resignation, but we're not addressing that vacancy, can we move forward tonight?
Madam President?
It is a reappointment. Yes, Mr.
Uh,
Edwards?
I personally, and by the way, thank you for your service, but I personally would feel more comfortable if we had time as a council to go out and find other qualified candidates. And what I mean by that is we need people on that planning board who understand plans, be they, background in architecture or engineering or construction. And I think now is a great time for us as a council to move forward, putting people who have technical qualifications on that board. And I think that with 2 more weeks, we'd be able to find 3 people who would like to apply. And I'd like to move in that direction.
I'll second that. I appreciate everything Sue has done for us, but she's been way, and no offense, Sue, but you send people out, you cost businesses money, you make people do things they're not supposed to be doing. I would prefer a resignation from you than a reappointment. Hey,
Madam
I'm talking right
President,
now. Oh, now all of a sudden it's fine?
Madam
Wait a
President.
minute, he has the floor. Have you completed?
No, I haven't completed. I got a
Well,
long list.
complete your statement.
But I don't want to be interrupted. You'll have your chance.
Thank you, Randy.
Just recently, Sue has gone down to the building, to the DPW head, and asked for something that shouldn't be asked for, opening the door for a lawsuit because of the watershed area. And if Bill, would you mind coming up here and explaining something for me? I hate to put you in the middle of it, but, well, I can't do that either. Because if we reappoint Sue, I'm going to have a major investigation on all the issues that's been going on with the planning board over the last 5 years. Okay? If you want to stop, you're going to look at me the whole time, or can I talk? I'm not one of the... I want to just speak my piece. I've been waiting 8 months to speak my piece, and it's coming out tonight.
I know you want to speak your piece, but you can't get personal.
I'm not getting personal. I have a laundry list of things that can't be done.
So you have some issues.
A laundry list.
Just review your laundry list. I don't need information from other people.
I do. I need information from Bill, from a recent occurrence that happened that could cause a lawsuit from us, for this town.
Is that appropriate?
I don't know what the issue is, but if we're gonna talk about litigation for the town, I don't wanna do it in public.
Well, then we can't do this in public then. This can't be done in public, and I would like to chair this for an executive session. I don't want to be appointing anybody who did a laundry list of things that can't be done anymore. You can't send people to a private, to 777 Main Road after there's an occupancy, send an engineer over there. That's not allowed. Long Plex, that's not allowed. I was at that meeting. Oh, let's go spend somebody else's money. Sue initiated that. And Peter, the attorney, didn't stop it. So it's not just Susan. This stuff needs to be addressed. This is why we can't get business in this town. We need a total change. If nothing changes, then nothing's going to change. We need a brand-new planning board, and we need to I appreciate all the work Sue does. I really do, but we need to go in a direction where we have qualified people. She's admitted herself at the podium she's not qualified to be an AO. And we've hired her as an AO.
Yes, I understand, but she has had support from a planner to do that. For your other laundry list of issues, we can certainly take it under executive session review and investigation at the next council meeting.
If that's the way you want to handle it.
I believe that would be appropriate.
Yes.
So I will ask for a motion to continue.
So moved.
President, may I speak
Ms.
now?
Hilton?
I have to say, while I understand members of the council can get frustrated about things, I am beyond appalled that we would attack a volunteer the way that we just attacked a volunteer tonight. I think it is absolutely appalling. It's frankly shameful. And you know, many people don't necessarily understand the rules and the regulations of the planning process, but Susan has been a member of the planning board for how long now, Susan?
3 years.
3 years. And I would venture to guess that Susan's understanding of the regulations, which some people do not like, and they don't like the zoning code, and they don't like the regulations. But, you know, people need to learn to separate the messenger from the message. And it is absolutely unfair for anyone who truly doesn't not understand the zoning code to blame the planning board because they don't like the regulations that the planning board have to live under. And with all due respect, Councilor LeBeau, and I appreciate that you are entitled to your opinion, I have spent significantly more time on zoning issues than you have. I've had a number of conversations with you, and frankly, in my opinion, your interpretation is incorrect. The planning board's interpretation is correct. This is my opinion. And, you know, the idea that we're going to go out and find a bunch of qualified people, who in God's name is going to want to come and serve this town if this is the way that we treat volunteers? We were without a planner. We were without anybody to be our administrative officer for planning. We asked the chair of the planning board. He declined.
And he should be let go for declining.
And-
Those are my 2 cents.
And Susan Gill offered to step in when we asked her. She didn't volunteer. She's done a tremendous job. She's cleaned up a boatload of problems that existed down there. And the idea that we're just going to go out and find these people who are so qualified to be planners, you know what? They don't exist. There are not a lot of them out there. Many of the people who have the skills to do this either can't do it because it's a conflict of interest, because they work in this town and then they end up having to recuse themselves all the time on discussions because they work here. And the rest of them won't do it because it's just a thankless, miserable job. And frankly, the planning board lets its own agenda and its own personal biases, you know, get in the way of whether or not the planning board is actually following the law or not. This planning board's had a terrible go of it. You know, without getting too much into personnel issues, we've had some issues with leadership and staff to support the planning board. It's had to muddle through a lot of big things without a whole lot of support. I cannot believe that this is how we would treat a volunteer that has given us, at this point, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours